On a night veiled in darkness, under a sky devoid of stars, Anya hurried through the deserted park, her footsteps quick and anxious. The air was unnaturally still, as if the world held its breath, awaiting the unfolding of an event yet unknown. Anya had always found solace in the solitude of her nightly walks, a rare moment of peace in her otherwise tumultuous life. However, tonight was different. A sense of unease had settled in her heart, a premonition of dread she couldn't shake off. As she ventured deeper into the park, a faint whisper brushed against her ear. It was soft, almost gentle, yet it carried a malevolence that made her skin crawl. She paused, her heart pounding in her chest, and turned to face the source of the sound. But there was nothing, only the oppressive darkness that seemed to watch her with unseen eyes. Anya quickened her pace, desperate to escape the unnerving quiet of the park. But with each step, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to come from all around her, a cacophony of voices that spoke in a language she couldn't understand. And then, the cold hit her, a breeze so icy it felt like the touch of death itself, sending shivers down her spine. Part 2: The Shadow's Embrace. As Anya neared her house, the whispers reached a frenzied pitch, their words twisting into intelligible threats. Never alone, they hissed, a promise that sent terror coursing through her veins. She broke into a run, her house now in sight, its windows dark and unwelcoming. But as she reached the doorstep, she realized the door was ajar, an impossibility, for she was meticulous about her security. Anya hesitated, fear gripping her heart. The whispers encouraged her, their tone mocking now. With a trembling hand, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The darkness enveloped her immediately, thicker and more suffocating than the night outside. She reached for the light switch, but her fingers found only empty air. And then, the whisper stopped, replaced by a silence so profound it roared in her ears. Anya sensed rather than saw the movement in the shadows, a darkness within the darkness, shifting, coalescing into a form too terrible to comprehend. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body refused to obey, frozen by an ancient fear that rooted her to the spot. The shadow advanced, its presence suffocating, and as it touched her, Anya felt an icy cold that penetrated to her very soul. The last thing she heard before the darkness claimed her was a voice, no longer a whisper but clear and triumphant. "You are mine," it said, and the world faded to nothing. Epilogue: Whispers in the Dark. Anya was never seen again. Some say she simply vanished, a ghost story for those who dared to walk the park at night. But the whispers tell a different tale, a warning whispered in the shadows, of a darkness that waits, hungry for the next lonely soul to wander into its embrace. And on the darkest of nights, if you listen closely, you can still hear Anya's voice among the whispers, a lament for the life she once had, now lost forever in the shadow's embrace. Part 3: The Unseen Bond. In the weeks that followed Anya's disappearance, the town was gripped by a palpable fear. Whispers of her fate intertwined with the wind, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked in the unseen corners of their lives. The park, once a place of solace and beauty, now stood abandoned, a symbol of the terror that had taken root in the heart of the community. But the darkness was not satiated. It hungered for more, its appetite whetted by Anya's despair. The shadows grew bolder, reaching out beyond the confines of the park, whispering into the ears of the unwary, their voices a siren call to those consumed by loneliness and sorrow. Part 4: The Gathering Shadows. One by one, others began to vanish. No trace of them was ever found, only empty homes and lives left in disarray. The town was besieged by a grief so profound it seemed to seep into the very soil, a mourning for the lost souls swallowed by the night. It was then that Eli, a friend of Anya's, driven by a mix of grief and determination, decided to confront the darkness. Armed with nothing but a steadfast resolve and a dimly lit lantern, He ventured into the park as night fell, the whispers growing louder with each step. Eli could feel the cold embrace of the shadows as he walked, the darkness curling around his feet like smoke. He called out Anya's name, his voice a defiant challenge to the unseen foe. For a moment, there was silence, and then, a chorus of whispers answered, their tone mocking, yet laced with a curiosity that hadn't been there before. Part 5, The Confrontation. As Eli stood his ground, the shadows began to coalesce, forming into a figure so dark it seemed to absorb the light around it. The figure spoke, its voice a blend of the many it had consumed, including a hint of Anya's, which pierced Eli's heart. "Why do you come here, mortal? Do you seek to join the ones you have lost?" the shadow asked, its tone dripping with malice. Eli, his heart heavy with sorrow, replied, "I come to end this. To free those you've taken in, to reclaim the night from your grasp." A laugh, cold and hollow, echoed through the park. Bold words. "But you are alone, and the darkness is vast." "I'm not alone," Eli countered, holding the lantern high. The light flared, brighter than before, and voices began to emerge from the shadows, voices of defiance, of hope, of love. They were the voices of the town, united in their grief, their will to fight back, lending strength to Eli's cause. The shadow recoiled as the light grew, its form becoming unstable, the whispers turning to screams of rage and fear. Eli pressed on, his resolve unwavering, as the light enveloped everything, cleansing the darkness with its purity. Epilogue: Dawn's Light. When the dawn broke, the park was transformed. The oppressive darkness had lifted, replaced by a gentle light that caressed the leaves and grass, a promise of renewal. Eli stood alone, the lantern extinguished, its purpose fulfilled. The town slowly began to heal, the memory of those lost a bittersweet reminder of the fragility of life and the strength found in unity. The whispers in the dark had been silenced, but the lessons they taught would never be forgotten. And though Anya and the others were never returned, in the heart of the town, their spirits lived on, a beacon of hope for all who faced the darkness, a testament to the power of light in the face of the deepest shadows. Part 6, The Unseen Horror. In the aftermath of Anya's disappearance, a palpable dread settled over the town. Whispered tales of shadows and whispers in the dark became the fabric of nightmares, chilling the bones of those who heard them. But the true horror lay not in the stories told in hushed tones but in the unseen terror that had claimed Anya. As nights passed, a malignant presence took root in the park. It was an ancient evil, a demon long forgotten by time, awakened by the despair and solitude of the souls that wandered too close to its domain. This demon, Ahriman, had found in Anya the perfect vessel, a conduit through which to extend its malevolent reach into the world of the living. Part 7, The Haunting of Eldridge Park. Eldridge Park, once a place of solace and beauty, became a realm of nightmares. Shadows moved with malicious intent, and the air was thick with the stench of decay. No longer did the townsfolk venture into its depths after dusk, for fear of the demon that lurked within. But the demon's ambition extended beyond the confines of the park. It sought to breach the veil between worlds, to bring forth an army of lost souls and demons to reign over the living. The whispers in the dark grew stronger, now voices of the damned, calling out to anyone who would listen, ensnaring them in Ahriman's web of shadows. Part 8, The Ritual of Binding. Determined to confront the growing darkness, a group of brave souls, versed in the ancient arts of magic and spirit communication, ventured into the heart of Eldridge Park under the cloak of night. Their goal was to perform the ritual of binding, a dangerous and forbidden rite that could imprison Ahriman once more in the depths of the abyss. As they drew the arcane symbols and chanted the incantations, the air around them chilled to an unnatural cold. Shadows writhed and twisted, converging on the circle of light they had created. And then, with a deafening roar, Ahriman manifested before them, a towering figure of darkness, its eyes burning with a hatred as old as time. The battle was fierce, the air crackling with the power of ancient magics. The demon, with its legion of shadows, fought with a ferocity that seemed to shake the very foundations of the earth. But in the end, the courage and determination of the group prevailed. With a final, desperate effort, they completed the ritual, binding Ahriman within an ethereal prison, its screams of rage echoing through the night as the seal closed. Epilogue. Silence once more. The morning dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the darkness that had enveloped the town. Eldridge Park, now free of the demon's presence, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The whispers in the dark were silenced, the shadows retreating to the mere absence of light they were meant to be. Yet, the memory of Anya and the horrors that had unfolded lingered in the hearts of those who had witnessed the darkness. The park remained a place of very respect, a monument to the battle between light and shadow. And in the silence of the night, if one listens closely, the wind carries a whisper, a warning of the thin veil that separates our world from the darkness that seeks to engulf it. For in the realm of shadows, there are horrors yet unseen, waiting for their moment to cross into our world, to turn our deepest fears into terrifying reality. The Covenant of Shadows. In the wake of Anya's disappearance, the town was engulfed in an eerie silence, a hush that seemed born of fear rather than peace. Whispers of her fate intertwined with the shadows, giving birth to a legend that chilled the bones of all who heard it. But the true horror of Anya's story was yet to unfold, hidden within the darkness that had claimed her. The Awakening. Deep within the bowels of the earth, beneath the very park where Anya had last been seen, there existed a realm untouched by time or light. Here, in this ancient place, dwelled a demon known as Morath, a creature of unimaginable darkness, bound by ancient magics to the shadow depths. It was Morath who had called to Anya, its voice the whispers in the dark, a siren song designed to lure the lost and lonely into its embrace. With Anya's arrival, a covenant was forged, her soul the key that unlocked Morath's chains. As the demon absorbed her essence, it grew in power, its shadow spreading like a plague across the land. The park became a nexus of evil, a gateway through which Morath could exert its will, twisting reality into a nightmarish tableau. The Haunting. The first to witness the true horror of Morath's awakening were the residents of Anya's street. Lights flickered and died, plunging homes into darkness. From the shadows, they could hear whispers, now laden with the power of the demon, promising torment and despair. And then, the sightings began, apparitions of Anya, her form twisted and grotesque, a puppet of Morath, used to instill terror in the hearts of the living. But it was the children who saw the worst. At night, they spoke of a shadow that watched them from the corners of their rooms, its eyes burning with a malevolent light. Some claimed it spoke, its voice a cacophony of screams and whispers that haunted their dreams, leaving them terrified to close their eyes. The Descent. The town was on the brink of madness, its residents trapped in a living nightmare. But it was the descent into the park's heart where the true terror awaited. Those foolish enough to seek answers found themselves walking a path that seemed to twist and turn upon itself, leading them deeper into the darkness. At the path's end stood a tree, ancient and gnarled, its branches reaching out like the fingers of a corpse. Beneath its shadow, the ground pulsed with a malevolent energy, a portal through which Morath could enter the world. And it was here that the final horror was revealed, a vision of the future, a world consumed by shadows, where humanity existed only to serve the whims of Morath. The Final Whisper. The story of Anya and the demon Morath became a cautionary tale, a whisper of warning to those who walked alone at night. But the truth was far more terrifying, for the demon had not been satisfied with a single soul. It hungered for more, its whispers a constant presence in the dark, searching for the next victim to ensnare in its covenant of shadows. And so, The darkness waits, patient and eternal, a predator lurking in the whispers between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. Its voice is the last thing its victims hear, a promise of darkness eternal, as they are consumed by the shadow's embrace, lost forever to the night. And the abyss of the night that followed Anya's disappearance, the park became a place forsaken, whispered about in hushed tones as the locus of an unspeakable horror. It was said that the darkness there breathed, alive with a malevolence that hungered for the unsuspecting. But the true terror, the one that sent shivers down the spines of even the most skeptical, was the entity that now dwelt within the shadows, a demon, ancient and cruel, born from the darkest fears of humanity. This demon, known only as Morath, was no mere ghost or lost soul. It was a creature of the shadow realm, a collector of tormented spirits. Morath had chosen the park as its hunting ground, luring lonely wanderers into its domain with whispers that mimicked the voices of loved ones, only to ensnare them in an eternal nightmare. On a night darker than any before, a group of the brave, or perhaps foolhardy, decided to confront the horror. Armed with nothing but their wits and a desperate hope to end Morath's reign, they entered the park. The air turned cold, and the familiar whispers began, yet they pressed on, drawn to the heart of the darkness where Anya had vanished. As they reached the center of the park, the ground beneath them trembled, and a chill wind rose, carrying with it a stench of decay. Then, silence. A moment later, Morath revealed itself, a towering figure cloaked in shadows, its eyes burning with a malevolent light. It spoke in a voice that was the sound of nightmares made flesh, a promise of pain and terror. "Fools," it hissed, "you have delivered yourselves to me." The air around them thickened, tendrils of darkness reaching out like hands, grasping, pulling. The group fought against the shadows, but one by one, they were overwhelmed, their screams echoing in the night as Morath consumed their souls, feeding on their fear. But amongst them stood one, Ella, who had not come out of bravery but for vengeance. Anya had been her sister, and Ella burned with a rage that not even Morath could consume. As the demon advanced, she called out, challenging it, her voice a beacon of light in the oppressive darkness. Morath, amused by her defiance, turned its full attention onto her, unleashing the full horror of its power. But Ella stood firm, her love for Anya as shield against the darkness. She spoke words of an ancient incantation, a spell of binding taught to her by a mysterious figure who had lost their own to Morath's hunger. As the incantation reached its climax, the ground erupted in light, chains of pure energy shooting up to bind Morath, pulling it into the earth. The demon roared, its form writhing in agony as the spell did its work, imprisoning it within the very ground it had tainted. Epilogue: a legacy of shadows. With Morath's defeat, the park was reclaimed by the light, but the scars of those nightmarish events remained. Those who had been lost to the demon's whispers were never returned, their spirits bound to the shadow realm, a haunting reminder of the price of their freedom. Ella, forever changed by her encounter, dedicated her life to guarding the site of Morath's prison, ensuring that the demon would never again rise to claim the innocent. And while the park once more became a place where people could wander, there were always those who remembered the tales, warning children to never stray too far or listen too closely to the whispers in the dark. For in the end, the story of Anya and Morath became a legend, a terrifying tale told on stormy nights of a demon that lurked in the shadows, waiting for the day it might break free and once again cast the world into darkness.